The coolest thing about having Loophole as a show sponsor is I've been an authentic, genuine customer of theirs for a very long time. I bought my first Loophole scope years ago. I now have the scopes, the spotters, the tripods, the bipods, everything. And my favorite piece of gear that I have, whether I'm guiding or hunting for myself, is going to be that BX4 Range HD Gen 2 binos. Man, these things are sweet. I love this company. I love the products. They're high quality. They're trustworthy. They've got a great warranty, and they're American made, which is a huge factor for me, as you guys know. So if you're going to spend your hard-earned money, make sure you're spending it with companies that align with your value sets. And if you're listening to this show, I have a feeling they probably align fairly closely with mine, and Leupold does just that. They support sportsmen. They support conservation. They support America, American jobs, American manufacturing, and high-quality products for a great value. You can't go wrong. Check it out at leupold.com. I only look for a few things when it comes to a hunting pack. And I've run a lot of different packs over the years, between my time in the military to when I was a kid, running around the mountains with that Vietnam-era Army-Navy surplus one I bought, to all the packs I've had now, some very high-dollar ones to some very cheap ones. There's a lot of things I like, but the things that are important to me is it needs to be water-resistant, it needs to be good at load-bearing, it needs to, help prevent that sweat that builds up between your back and the actual pack that drives me crazy. And it needs to be functional. I like to have the proper pouches and a good belt pouch and things to set up and accommodate the way that I like to hunt. Man, I tell you what, the Mystery Ranch has achieved all those things in both packs that I have, between the Sawtooth 45 and the Sawtooth 65. You can also get the Beartooth 85 and the Marshall 105, depending on how much time you want to spend in the backcountry. I couldn't recommend this pack more. It's super functional. It's great at packing meat. It's great at packing everything that I need for the day, whether I'm guiding or if I'm just hunting. It keeps the water out. Super functional pack. Couldn't recommend them high enough. Check it out at mysteryranch.com/mysterium and let them know the Western Huntsman sent you. There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman Podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you from the Broken Tine studio right here in Northwest Montana, brought to you by Eastman's Hunting Journals. Glad you guys are tuning in. It's a new week. What are we, mid-March here? So seasons that we are closing in on. We're getting close to spring turkey and spring bear, and ever so close to elk season coming up, which, by the way, if you guys are interested, I released the first school of September last week, so definitely check that out. I always get, really excited when we get to start talking about September archery elk season, so it's my favorite time. This week, though, speaking of archery elk hunting, I mention him all the time. He's been on the show several times, and he's a good buddy of mine, and I'm just happy he's here. Steve Dude, Johnson.
Thanks for joining me. Great to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, man.
It's been a while since I podcasted. We've been moving, and then we had the holidays, and dude, yeah. Well, so it started out, Stacy and I were buying a house, and we put an offer in on a house in October. Yeah. No.
I think it was September, wasn't it?
September, we put an offer in a house.
Yeah.
We got accepted, and then I flew in to the salmon and went mule deer hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was gone, I had to sign her off as a power of attorney. So she did all the closing and all that stuff. So I get back from hunting, and it's straight into moving, and then Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then trying to organize stuff in the house. It was just, oh man, it's been crazy. It's been a good year, though.
Can
Yeah.
you pull your mic a little closer to your?
You're
like,
always yelling at me.
I
Here,
know, man. I
just
gotta
gotta
think.
make out with this thing
Yeah, you gotta get up
every
close and
time I'm on
personal
the
with that
show.
mic, man. Make that thing feel
How's
real
that?
special.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's
All
better.
right.
Yeah, I'll keep you in line throughout this whole
Yeah, you
thing.
will. I know this.
I always like getting Steve on, guys, because we've hunted together a bunch. We've hung out. We camped. He just came over. Oh, how's that freezer, man? Is that thing
Awesome.
working? It does
Working
work.
great.
I was
Freaking
gonna
awesome.
take this freezer to the dump, and Steve's like, "I need a freezer." I'm like, "Well, you can come get this one." Still
No,
works.
I was able to get my freaking elk cut up and put in the freezer, and dude, it's been working great. Love it.
Good.
I even got a
Good.
bobcat in there too.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That one from a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I got it. Oh shoot, when was that? I got it. It was back in bobcat season, right? So
Yeah.
I can't remember,
I
but
guess
I
it's
set
been
a
a
trap.
while then.
It's been like a month or so. But I got home. I was actually working. Checked the trap. Went and checked the bobcat in at the Fish and Game office over off Hanley, and then got home late. And I was like, you know what? Got a big freezer now. So
Perfect.
cheers,
You don't
buddy.
have to.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what are you drinking there? We always have a beer when we're recording. Oh,
Yeah.
the good old Coors Light's a great option.
Man, you're getting all fancy. You're getting all
It's
uptown.
not fancy. It's by design. This is that Blue Moon, and it's a heavier beer because, dude, when I drink Coors Light, it just goes down too quick, and so
Yeah.
I can kind of milk these Blue Moons. But
Yeah, it's
you
like
feel
drinking
you just
water.
swallowed a brick. Yeah. So, and I just flat had to stop drinking whiskey when I'm recording because I don't drink that often, so I'm kind of a lightweight. And if I have a glass of whiskey, man, I get all slurred speech and everything while I'm recording, and I try not to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I get it. I think some of your best podcasts are when you're drinking whiskey, though, man. So I get a kick out of
It
them.
just depends. Yes, depends on everybody's mood, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, cool, man. How's everything else going? You gearing up for where are you hunting this year? You got some you putting in for any special draw tags, anything like out of state, anything like that?
Man, I am going back and forth. I'm actually so this year might be a crazy year and it might not be a crazy year. I just don't know. But I'm supposed to be going on a moose hunt with Grenda in August, and I just don't think it's going to be in the cards this year. I got some other things going on in life that I got to kind of take priority on. And
Would that
then
be you hunting moose with Grenda in Alaska?
yeah, so the plan was that me and Scott were gonna fly up. Scott, we all went sheep hunting together on Travis's sheep hunt down on the salmon. And so the plan is that me and Scott were gonna fly up there to Adam's place, and then Adam was gonna help get us back there, and then Adam was gonna go hunt on his own. I wasn't actually gonna hunt with him. But we were gonna kind of do a DIY or whatever you want to call it hunt, and then so it's kind of involves flying in and then camping and rafting and then getting picked up basically at the end of the trip. But two guys,
you're not gonna be able to make that?
I don't know. Just had some things pop off that just some family issues that are going on, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to commit 100%. So I got to figure it out here pretty quick.
Well, can I just throw you under the bus real quick?
Sure.
Adam, if you're listening, Steve's out, I'm in.
There you go.
Let me know. Hook it up.
No, I went up there last year with him.
The dude's bugging me to go moose hunting again. That's what he's going to say.
Alaska's super awesome, and I really want to do the trip. And if it doesn't work out, I know that I could probably just work it out with them again.
Yeah.
But yeah, last year I went up there and fished with him for 10 days or so. We did some work on a septic tank at his house, so I helped him put a septic tank in, and then we went to the Nushagak River and fished for salmon. And dude, what a freaking blast! Like some of the most epic fishing I've ever had. It was just
I saw
unreal.
some of those pictures, man. I not gonna lie, there was some envy floating around when you posted some of those pictures up there. It's definitely a special place. I have not yet been to Alaska. It's like
And it's the one. Let's see. I haven't been to like the New England area, like Connecticut, Maine. I haven't been to that area, and then I haven't been to Alaska. I've been everywhere else in the United States, and so that's next on the list.
Heck yeah. No, you definitely got to go. Just, dude, the bears are crazy. I'll tell you that. So we went, well, I could tell this story real quick, but we went down to the river. They've got a subsistence permit, so they can go out and net fish. Their family can. So I could just go and watch them do it. But I was out there watching them. They were catching all these salmon in the net and stuff and flipping them up on the bank. I think they caught like 350 pounds of fish or some crazy amount. I mean, dude, I've never seen so many salmon hit a net and like hit a table. Adam and his buddy are sitting there filleting them out and like throwing them in coolers. They filled 3 big Yeti coolers, huge Yeti coolers with salmon, just fillets.
Like those big 110s. That's healthy living, man. Those fresh salmon like that, man, that is good living.
So they fill those 3 coolers up, and then we go back to their house. Well, Adam has an Airbnb across the street from his house where he's at in Alaska. So I was staying in the Airbnb, and I was like, hey, I'm going to go clean up and get some of this fish slime off me. I was wet and stuff. And so I went over there and got dressed, came back over to their house. And I'm just walking the door, and I'm at the table with one of his kids. I'm terrible with the names. Sorry. But Julia. Me and Julia were sitting there, and I hear this scratching outside the house. Like, just like, I don't know. It sounds like claws on a metal roof, right? I look out the window, and it's like 3 feet from my head. I look out this window, and there's a brown bear in the back of his truck already trying to get salmon out of that cooler that's still in the back of the truck. And it's like 11:30 at night, and the sun's still out, right? So it's like, holy cow. So I scream bear, and I run out the door, just instinct, I guess, run outside and start yelling at this thing in the back of the truck, and it jumps out of the truck and runs across the street. And I kind of like half-ass chased it across the street, like kind of unsure, not sure, you know. And Grenda and Tana come running down the stairs with guns, and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? And I'm like, there's a monster bear. It's huge. It was in the back of the truck, and I just chased it across the street. So they come running outside, and the chase is on, dude. We're like hunting this freaking bear down, and it's like a neighborhood.
Well, explain that, because they're in Alaska, so obviously, well, brown bears, they're not protected up there because they're smart. So is that a thing where it just happened to be bear season, or is it like you can protect?
In town, and if you're a native in town, you get tags for bears in town. They call them town bears. Okay. So they can get a town bear tag every year. Well, Tana had a tag. So basically, if it's on your property, damaging things, or like, I guess anything to do with your property, if you're protecting your property against them, obviously this bear climbed in the back of the truck and was trying to tear the coolers up. So it's like, I think that qualifies under it. But so they were able to take chase after this thing, and so I got to join on the bear hunt, the big bear hunt in the backyard. They're like chasing this grizzly bear, brown bear, I guess. Sorry for those that know the terms, but we're chasing this thing across the street through the neighborhood, and we get out to the road, and we're like walking around. Haven't seen the bear. And Adam's asking me, like, how big was it? And I'm like, it was huge. It was a freaking monster bear. And Tana, we're all talking about it. And then Adam sees the bear, and he's like, oh, bear. And it's like, dude, it's like squirrel. We all turn. Adam just takes off running at this thing in his Crocs. T-shirt, shorts, Crocs. Like, he's like holding his pants up or whatever, running across the yard, gun in one hand, hand on his pants. And we're running across the yard, and the bear disappears behind like the chicken coop. So then we lose the bear again. And so we climb up on their back porch to get like a height advantage, right? And we're like looking for this thing, and he's like, oh, there it is. And we all take off running again. And we get into the woods, and Adam gets close to the bear. I think he's like maybe 30 yards from this thing, 25 to 30 yards. And Hannah and I are kind of holding back, and Adam's like, hey, get over here. And Tana's like she's still kind of spooked from bears after her little incident.
Sure.
But so anyways, the bear gets away, and then Adam kind of throws a fit. Then it was kind of funny. We laughed about it. It was like, well, he's like, so then at the end of this, I guess I think it's this massive bear, right? Like I'm like, oh, dude, this thing's a fucking giant bear. No, he's like, oh, that's a baby. It's only 8 foot. I'm like,
Oh,
8
really?
foot bear, dude. I'm
Only
used
8
to seeing
foot.
like 5 foot black bears, right? Like,
Yeah.
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 No, but
like
it was
4
funny.
foot.
Yeah. So any brown bear up there, even if it's a cub, looks giant to me. But
Wow. Yeah, I know, man. There's that Adam has that picture. It's on his Instagram. What's his Instagram again? Grinda something?
Brenda 89.
Yeah, Grinda 89. If you guys haven't checked out Adam's Instagram, you guys listening, you gotta go see some of these bear pictures and the moose pictures too. But like that one that he had like set up, he's kind of sitting behind it, and Adam's just he's a freaking beast of a dude. You know,
The
he's just a
vanilla
beast of a dude.
gorilla.
The vanilla gorilla for sure. and he's sitting behind it, and so it just makes this bear look like a freaking dinosaur.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. And that's the thing. It's interesting the different lifestyles, how they kind of cross this parallel of like on the back of my house where I live in Montana, we have that cedar wood siding, and I need to replace it. It's getting pretty old and beat up, but it's got scratch marks basically from bears from all of my back windows. The bears come up and they want to peek in the window, right? And so I've got these bear claws. Same thing with my shed. One of the sheds I've got has windows, and they were peeking in the windows there. So there's these big scratch marks down the wood siding and whatnot. You know, but I know just looking at them, one of them was a grizz, but they're usually just these little. We have these little neighborhood black bears around here, and they're like, you know, a little bigger than a mean looking raccoon. They're not very big.
Yeah.
But I'm always curious as to, because they talk about, I've heard it discussed that like one of the reasons that North Carolina, for example, gets these giant black bears is because they don't hibernate that long. In like North Carolina, Georgia, whatever, they don't even hibernate. And so they're feeding year round, where here, you know, we've got some years where they're in hibernation for like 6 months at a time, and so they have a tougher time growing up to be all that big. But then you think about, okay, what the heck then with Alaska? Like when you look at these Alaskan bears, these big old brown bears, you know, you got Grinda, this giant vanilla gorilla, whatever you called him, sitting behind this brown bear that made Adam look like a midget, and but they hibernate up there, don't? I mean, maybe on the coastal stuff, maybe they don't. I don't know. That's something. You know what? I'm gonna look that up,
dude. So
that's
this
gonna drive me
year
crazy.
was like I did some. So I mean, it's kind of a geeky thing I do, but ever since I went up there, when I was in the airport in Alaska, there they have this live video feed of the Brooks Falls. And this year was like one of their highest returns of sockeye for like all the rivers, I believe. But they had millions and millions of sockeye salmon returning, and you can get on that live feed and you can watch those bears. This stuff, and I think everybody's seen it. It's where the bears sit up on top of the waterfall and they catch the salmon when they're jumping out of the air. You know, jumping up the falls, they catch them with their mouth. All those bears up there, there were so many fish that they were so fat that it didn't even look like they had legs. Like they couldn't even hardly walk around.
I've seen videos of bears that look like that up there. Yeah.
They just gorge when they get opportunities to gorge, because
they do hibernate.
I know right where Adam's at in that area up there, like that it gets really cold, and they have a longer winter than us. I think their winter starts in into September, and it goes until, I mean, they're still in the dead of winter right now. I'm pretty sure they'll be in winter until May, you know.
And that's what this is saying here too. It's like, I kind of feel dumb asking this question, like I should have known, but
well, you don't know.
I just got thinking, like,
every day.
If it's in coastal, like if you're in the Cascades in Washington in February, you'd think you were in like the Arctic Circle. but you
Right.
drive an hour down towards the coast and it's not even winter. And so I was just wondering, maybe with that climate on the coast, they don't, but it does say Alaskan coastal brown bear do hibernate. Hibernation lasts 2 to 5 months, but can last as much as 7 to 8 months in colder northern parts of Alaska. And they go into, it's technically a state called torpor or torpor. I don't know how you pronounce that. Torpor, which is more of a deep sleep than a true hibernation, but still okay. So that answers that. They do hibernate and they still get big as all get out, and that's just crazy. I don't know how I'd feel. Like the bears around here at my place, they don't make me all that nervous. I don't really worry about them too much, but man, if I walked out and there was an 8-foot brown bear in the back of my truck, I'd be there'd be some concerns.
Yeah, and then you'd be really shocked when your buddy looked at you and said, "Oh, quit being a pussy. That's a baby." I mean, we're just not used to it. That's their norm, right? But
yeah.
I was just like, well, sorry, dude, but that freaked me out.
I don't know if it's being a pussy, man. 150 black bear can really rip you apart pretty quick.
It could, yeah.
That thing, what do you think? What do you think an 8-foot brown bear weighs?
Okay, if I was guessing like 250, 300 pounds, maybe more.
Okay,
maybe 400. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I haven't seen a lot of them, and all the bears that I've seen, I guess, are babies, from what Adam told me. So
well,
we did fly out to a creek and go fishing one day in his plane. I got to go do some fly fishing on this little air. Oh, it was like a little creek out in the middle of the bush, and it had like grayling and leopard rainbows in it, and it had dollies and stuff too. And
really,
so I got to do some fly fishing on that. I've never done that. That was super cool.
Man,
but we did see a bear. We saw a bear on the way out there, and he said, "That's a big bear," and he said that was like a 10-foot plus.
Yeah,
and it did look big. It looked like a Volkswagen Bug running with legs, running through the tundra. It was pretty nuts.
Man, that whole family, they're such like dialed in outdoorsmen. Between Adam and Tana, and then you've got Tom over in North Idaho. Rob and I are gonna try to get Tom on to guide with us. And so we're really trying to convince him. So if you're listening to this, everybody shoot Tom a message. So you should go guide with Jim and Rob. But I think
he's so passionate about it. He just loves being out there.
He loves teaching, man. He loves teaching, and that's what makes a good guide. Like when people come with me, like I want them to leave. I always want them to come back and hunt with me, right? From like a business standpoint or a guide standpoint, that return business or whatever. But my goal is I want them to be able to leave after a week with me and be like, okay, I know how to. Foundationally, I know how to locate elk. I know how to talk to elk if it's during the rut. I know how to kind of close the distance and use the wind to my advantage and use the crowds that are out there to my advantage. Stuff like that. I really like it when people, I feel like they're leaving and they can go back to their home state. And like I had a guy last year from Utah. Shout out to Dan. Super cool dude, and he comes out, and I feel like he really soaked in, what he was learning out here, because he could take that back to Utah and be a much more effective hunter there. And because Utah's got some great elk hunting, if you can get a tag, that's the hard part down there. They, trying to get a tag, but unless you want to shoot a spike, they have a bunch of spike only units down there. So nothing wrong with that. Spikes taste good.
Dude, that's actually shot a spike last year. That was I needed to get some meat in the freezer. So
I still laugh about that year that you went out, and I don't remember what you killed first, but I think it was the bear. You shot a bear first, and you're like, you got the bear out, came home and posted it, and you're like, well, look what I got today. And then the next day you go out on the same trail and get that bull.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, who doesn't dream about that? Just get everything done in like the first week.
Oh man. That was a super awesome year. I was like super grateful. It was just the cards were right. Did some did some homework, and yeah, it paid off. So
Nice.
it was really
Well,
good.
all this talk about bears, I want to talk about a little spring bear hunting for everybody out there
Yeah.
getting ready for it. So, tell us a little bit, kick us off with kind of your basic methodology. Is that the right way to say that? Methodology?
It makes sense to me. I'm just a dumb hick, man. So yeah, I got what you're spitting.
Like, are you more keyed in on baiting? Are you more keyed in on spot and stock? Do you have a preference? Let's get into a little bit of that. And
So I've always been a baiter, and a hound hunter, and I've always wanted to do the spot and stock, but I guess I haven't put the time into it to be successful. So I kind of always fall back on what I know versus just pushing it. And so like for spring bear baiting, I usually focus in on draws that are lower. So I always think the spot where I can get the closest to where they're denned up all winter long. And to me, it's like I most just from hound hunting and everything, most of the dens that I've came and found and everything in my time doing that was usually always in a spot with a lot of blowdowns, down lower in a creek drainage, just closer to water where you get those big cedars that blow over, big red firs, big hemlock firs, and those bears have a better chance, they can dig a better den. Not saying that they don't den anywhere else, obviously, but
sure,
I've just had better luck, consistent luck finding those spots down lower. So I try to set up there, also thinking that.
Can I ask you something on the den thing? Sorry, not to cut you off, but I want to cover those little kind of details so people can like really have some key takeaways here. On those denning areas where you're running into them, you're talking about you've got some blowdown, lower bottom of the drainages kind of type places. Have you found any kind of consistency with like if that drainage is, you got your north slope, your south, your east, your west facing slope kind of thing, the drainage will run like a certain way, or even, maybe it's running southeastern down this direction or whatever. Is there any kind of consistency with higher den bear populations in a certain orientation, or is it just like more dark timber
honestly,
with a lot
Jim,
of blowdown?
If I was being truthful with you, I've found more consistency with where I find elk. So, and I'll get to that in a second, I guess, but obviously when bears come out of hibernation, like the first thing they try to do is they start going for grass. So, and then the next thing that they're going for grass, but a lot of times the grass isn't out. Like think about last week when it warmed up, those bears are still coming out of the den and they're they're going to the bathroom, doing a little walk, and then they're coming back to their den. I always try to think of like where I find the most dead animals when I'm out elk hunting, right? So when you go through a drainage and you're finding piles of bones, whether it's wolf kills, whatever, everything always goes down.
Yep.
And some drainages you can walk a long ways and you never see bones in the bottom of them. They're just pristine, nice, like nothing's ever been down there. And then some of them, it's like a graveyard. And I don't know if there's anything that correlates to that or not, but that's those areas. Usually, like if it's an east, so if it's running from west to east, that drainage, or east to west, you have a south slope, big south slope on this side, a big north slope on the other side. But that north slope will usually have that big heavier timber. You'll have that south slope where your elk and your deer like to winter at. It seems like those wintering zones to me have always been pretty good for finding bears early in the spring, but I'm not saying that. That's just what I've found.
No, it makes sense to me.
I think they like to get out, get some carrion in them. A lot of times they don't have grass right away, but there's some winter kill that they can feed on, and then they go into grass. So that's kind of, and it's changed a lot here since the wolves. Obviously, like they've affected bears, they've affected mountain lions, they've affected a lot of things here. But that's just stuff that I've noticed from baiting bears and hunting bears.
Yeah, and that's one of my and I've said this a million times, but one of my biggest heartburns with leaving North Idaho and coming to Northwest Montana, it's like from where I used to live in Idaho to where I live now in Montana is like a 15-minute drive. So it's not far apart, right? It's not like it was this big life-altering move. But one of the things, there's things that were better that kind of balance this out. But one of the bummers is, man, because of the Grizzlies over here, we can't bait, and I miss baiting. And so I want to talk a little bit about like your baiting setups, some of your strategies with that, because I think that there's like you see it every year. What's that face? There's like a Facebook page, North Idaho bear baiting bear hunting or something like that. and like there's a lot of people, whether they're in Wyoming, there's parts of Montana you can bait in. There's I don't think you could bait in like Washington and Oregon. I don't think, I don't know. I could be totally wrong with that, but you could bait. I know you could bait in like Utah. Do you know if you could bait in Colorado for bear?
I don't.
Okay.
I know that in Washington, this is what just like forever kind of mind boggled me. But in Washington, you could bait elk and deer, but you couldn't bait bears.
Yeah, and now and
that just seems like totally backwards to me. Like
those left, and the leftists over there, the animal left wing activists over there have taken away the they infiltrated the commission in the state of Washington and took away their spring season anyway. And so which man, that is just we've got to all kind of pitch in and pay attention to that kind of stuff, because our brothers and sisters in Washington, they no longer have the spring bear hunt that we're about to talk about. So I'd like to talk anyway. What I was getting at is I want to talk a little bit about baiting, and then we could switch to some spot and stock, because that covers like everybody, and with baiting, what I've found, what I was getting at with like that Facebook group and whatnot, is there's a lot of guys that go out and they set up these bait barrels, and they seemingly look like they're really good setups, but they're not getting any action on them. And I've had that happen. In fact, I've had it happen where I've set up a bait barrel and it was great one year, and then the next year it was totally dead, nothing.
Yeah.
And that was the year my buddy Kevin came out, and we didn't see any action on those bait barrels. And so, like, what are you looking for from a standpoint? You talked about where you generally find the bears.
Yep.
Now, what are you looking for in terms of ideal setup, in terms of you don't want it to take forever to get from the truck to the bait site.
Right.
You don't want hounds running bears off your bait. That said, I have found that that's not, it sucks if you're sitting in a blind or in a tree stand or something over your bait barrel and the hounds come through and chase the bears off. Yes, I would concede that that's a bummer. But if you show up and the day before you check your camera, maybe some hounds have run some bears off your bait site, that's okay. That day, those bears will be back. I have found it's just not like a permanent damaging thing. And I know people might have a different opinion on that, but on all my sites, we have on the North Idaho side, a prolific population of houndsmen, and they're doing their part for predator management. Lots of respect for them. So
yeah.
People get so bent out of shape. They're like, oh, I showed up and the hounds had run the bears off my bait site and they never showed back up. Something else is wrong then, because all of my bait sites have had hounds come through.
Yeah.
And I still get bears on them consistently.
They still come back. Yeah. And a lot of those guys, they run baits just to train their hounds, and they'll run the same bear 5 or 6 times. I mean, it's a training. There's nothing wrong with it. It's training their dogs, and the guys,
and that's important. They have to do that.
It is. It's really important. I guess when so the way I look at it when I get into it is I try to set up a bait that's going to work for me all year round. So I think about that spring stuff, like where's the best spot for them to den up at? Where's the best spot for them to get grass? Where's the best spot for them to get that fall huckleberry crop? And then when the huckleberry crop's over, what are they going to hit next? And most of the time, like, you get those mountain ash berries, the bright orange ones. So I like to be somewhere close to all those. And those bears, like, you pick one big drainage. Our prevailing wind's usually southwest, right? I mean, It's usually out of the southwest. So I always try to think like prevailing wind and then thermals. most of them bears, they're not out all day long feeding. They're out usually in the evenings, late evening, and then through the night. And then you get them in the early morning, but I don't see a lot of bears hitting baits even middle of the day. Every once in a while, if you're close to one that's just, he's comfortable and he likes it, he's going to come in. He'll come in
Yeah.
periodically through the day, but it's just generally not the case. Usually it's at like, I always call it like 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock on is usually like money for
Money.
setting a
Yeah.
bait,
For spot and
So,
stock, I always say 3 p.m. on, and I
yeah,
would totally agree with that. And I think you have two types of bears hitting your bait. You have the bears that camp out on your bait site, and then you have the roaming bears, which are
mhm,
they'll show up every few days or once a week or something, but they're
yeah.
potentially hitting other bait sites or just moving through the country, whatever. But you always get a couple that are just like camped out on your site, and they're going to hit that thing on a consistent basis, almost to the point where you could set your clock to it.
Yeah, for sure. And I've noticed too in the spring can make it kind of tough. You get a lot more of that activity, I feel like, in the spring than you do in the fall. And I think it's
Yeah.
just because they call it the rut, right? The bears it's breeding time. So you get a
Mhm.
lot more boars that are coming through and they might snack on your bait for a minute, but then they're out. They get a smell of that estrus from that, whatever you want to call it. But they smell of hot honey down the drainage and they're gone, man. So, um, it's just that's kind of normal for spring bear. I've seen a lot of boars come into my baits in the spring, and then you don't
Mhm.
see them again for a while. That's just part of it. But
Well, it's
I
just
should,
like you think about the whitetail rut. If you're
yeah,
sitting a tree stand or something, you'll see bucks show up that you've never seen before. They're
yeah,
hanging out for a week and then they disappear and you never see them again.
yeah,
It's
for
the same
sure.
kind of thing, and that's the cool part about a bait. I think one of my strategies has been some people get all bummed out when they get a sow with cubs that show up on their bait site. But if you're in that early June, whatever, that's a great
Yeah,
thing to have
that's
happen
like having a
because
white-tailed doe, and
exactly,
sitting there.
man. It's not a terrible idea. And so, do you ever use that estrus scent? I can't remember. Because I always would buy the Batum 907 products. And they have. Oh man, it's gonna drive me crazy. I can't remember the
Like a
name of it.
sow and heat or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's like there was a name and I can't remember the name. But what I did is and it was the lady when I went to the store and bought the nylon sock, thought I was really weird. I went to like the dollar store and bought these like old lady nylons or whatever,
Yeah.
and you cut them like to the size of a sock, and you just it's like a jello-y kind of stuff, and you stuff it down at the bottom of that, and it holds on to that nylon really well, but it's super porous, so it's putting that scent out. And I'd hang that from like the tree above my bait, and I'd see an influx of boars coming in after that. Definitely.
Oh yeah. No, that sound. I've never tried that, but it sounds like it worked pretty good. I've always
Yeah,
just done the
I'll look it
bacon
up, man.
grease.
What That's what I was going to ask you is what are you using for? I'm going to look what this product is called. But what are you using in your bait barrel?
So whatever I can get, honestly. So whether that be dog food or a bag of bread or donuts or whatever, it's just popcorn even, it'll work. That's just what you need to keep the bears sitting there, right? But to get
Mm-hmm.
them to come to your bait, I've always used fryer grease. And what we'll do is we'll take like 2 5-gallon buckets. We'll dump 1 5-gallon bucket below the barrel, just in a big puddle right below the barrel. And we'll just try to get it covered all over the ground right there. Then the next bucket, we take it and we throw it up on the tree as high as you can. And then, so the theory behind getting grease all over the place, the bears will come in and they'll hit your bait and they're sitting there and their feet are dancing around. A lot of times their back feet are just dancing around on the ground at that barrel, and they're reaching in and they're grabbing stuff out, pulling it out. And then they get a mouthful and they hop down on all fours and they sit there and lay in it. And then they eat that stuff up, get back up, do it again. And they get it covered in that grease. Well,
Yeah.
the whole theory behind that for me is when those bears leave, wherever they're going, they're leaving a trail of grease all the way to your bait.
Yep.
So you got a bear that goes this way, and another bear that goes out this way, and another bear that comes in and goes this. So you got 3 bears, and then all of a sudden you've got 3 different trail systems that they're using that are just covered in this grease.
Yep.
And that's any bear crossing that trail is going to hit that, and it's, whoa, what's that? And they're going to trace it out. Either follow it to the bear that made the trail, or follow it back to your bait, or both. But that's kind of the theory behind that. And then I also like using anise. So if you go to the store and you get the little
is that how you say it? I always called it anise. Is it anise?
I've always called it anise. My grandpa called it anise. I've had my other buddies call it other things. Yeah,
I always call it anise.
Say,
I don't know. I literally I don't know. I don't know if I've ever even talked about it before with anybody, podcast or no podcast. But I just look at it. I'm like, anise.
No.
Oh, okay.
So anise, I've always called it anise, and I'll take that, and I'll take one of my shirts out of my closet, one of my work shirts, covered in sweat and grease and stuff, wear it for a week, take it off, and then I'll put anise all over that, and I just hang that up on my tree stand. And every time I go in and bait, I usually bring another one and I climb up there, switch it out, put a new one there, and that just kind of gets the bears used to your scent. But then it also has kind of an inviting smell too. But the anise is overpowering, and it's really strong. It carries on the wind pretty good. But I think it helps, because I've noticed usually when we go in, and I'm gonna hunt a bear bait, I'll have a buddy come with me in there, and I'll bring my shirt and I'll hang it up on the barrel or wherever I hang it up at, and he'll go and he'll bait the barrel. I'll climb up in my tree stand, and then he takes off back up to the rig, gets in the rig, drives off, and then I'm just left there sitting in the stand. I think they just get used to that smell, kind of train them so they're not as edgy when they come in. They're like, oh, that's the same smell I've smelled all week.
Yeah.
But sometimes it works. I've had bears come in and still kind of look up at me and just get old bears. It's funny, 'cause like you were talking earlier about bear size here and how sometimes our bears just don't get very big. And like Tom Schneider, who we were just talking about, he just recently got a bear tooth back or something. I saw a post about it, but it wasn't a very big bear, and the bear was like 30 years old or something like that.
I know it was. I remember that. He did get some kind of super old. I don't know how old it was, but it was an older bear. It surprised me.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot more common here than people think. I think we just don't have a lot of big bears anymore. I think, you could, 150, 200-pound bear, where guys like, oh, you need to give it time. It could be a 30-year-old bear, 35-year-old bear. They get old here. That's for sure. But I don't think they get the size.
I don't really care. Like, it's not for me, bear hunting isn't like the same as I'm after the big, most mature buck I could find. I mean, sure, I want the biggest one I could find, but for bears are tough to get. Bears are, and even when we're talking baiting, that does not make it easy.
No.
And so I just kind of usually, the first legal bear that gives me a good clean shot, I'm usually going to take it. By the way, that stuff, Batum 907, if you go to batum907.com and click on the bear attractants tab, that is, it's called Black Bear Estrus Gel Sow in Heat. And I would buy the small container that is $19.99. And that's what I would feed into that nylon sock. But you don't want to do that until at least June 1. Doesn't really do much till then. In fact,
I'm gonna have to check that out, because I know that's what's going on, and I've had bears come through, and if that gives a big boar that comes through another chance to come back and get them curious, like, man, that'd be a good, I don't know, it's worth a shot for sure.
Dude, I swear by this Batum 907 stuff.
Yeah, I know you always talk about it, and I never
do,
tried
and I don't really bait anymore because I'm in Montana. I still do have some bait sites I could run some barrels in on the Idaho side that are actually not very far from me if I wanted to get real crazy and do it that way. But it's easy, man. I would take my barrel out there. I'd fill it with popcorn. And the reason why I use popcorn is because it's really lightweight, and they
Yeah.
can't just gorge themselves on it. It like kind of takes them some time, and it keeps
Yeah.
them. I remember an old timer told me one time, you're not trying to feed bears, you're trying to bait bears. So you don't want to make it like super accessible. You don't want them to be able to come in and clean your barrel out in 20 minutes, and then they know it's gone and won't come back. And so consistency, I found, is really important with these bait sites too. Like, you don't want to leave it for 2 weeks without checking on it. And so what I do is I'd do the popcorn. I'd get the scent ball from Batum 907, and I'd hang that from a tree. That's this giant scent ball. It's like it looks like it's got oatmeal in it, and it's like real waxy.
Yeah.
And I take a rope, and I just kind of pulley system it up the tree, right above my barrel. And then let's see, I'm scrolling down. Stripper glitter's pretty good stuff, but they also have the baiting yo-yos. I would get a lot of their bear attractant spray in the either blueberry or how did you pronounce it? Anise? I call it anise. Maybe it's anise.
Anus.
Anus. I would get the blueberry usually, and what you were saying with getting that grease all over the ground, I spray the heck out of the ground right around the barrel, and that's where they're stepping in it. And then I spray any brush around there, because then they'll rub up on it, and they will make like a 4-mile long trail, and those other bears out there will pick up on that and come in. And then the powder stuff that I would put, this is what got them really interested in the actual popcorn, is called Sweet Surrender Bait Additive, and I would usually do the blueberry in that as well. And it's just a real sweet powdery stuff. My warning to anybody using this Batum 907 stuff, if you're going to use this stuff, they do not sponsor the show or anything, ladies and gentlemen, so this is not like a big ad. It's just a legitimately really good bear attractant. When you order this stuff and you're packing this stuff to your bait barrel, you got to be real careful with what pack you're using. You do not want this to be like your main elk hunting pack. Get like a used cheap pack. And the reason I say that is you will never get these smells out of your pack. I have an old pack that I've been using for years, and I have to keep it outside in a shed separate. Like, all my other packs are in here in the house. Like, I've got both of my mystery ranches are sitting right there to my left, and I keep them all right here. I don't do that with my bait barrel pack, because the smell will take over your whole house. One time I had a Batum 907 delivery coming, and they, for some reason, they couldn't fit the box in my mailbox. It came through the USPS. And they called me up like 2 days later, because they left a little slip saying, "Hey, we couldn't deliver. You got to come pick this up." And I just didn't get down there. And all of a sudden they call me and they're like, "Hey, so man, can you come get this shit? Like, whatever's in this box, it is gagging us out of this post office. You've got to come and get it." And I come down there. I could smell it from the parking lot, man. That's how potent this stuff is. So anyway,
Dude,
so
I had a similar experience with the Gusto. Have you ever smelled Gusto?
What is that?
A trapping lure. It's a call lure, and a call means it just broadcasts out, kind of like what we're talking about. But this stuff comes, the bottle's taped shut, then it's bubble wrapped, then the bubble wrap's taped shut, then they put it in a box, they tape the box shut, and then they put it in another package, and it's vacuum sealed or whatever.
And then you still smell it.
You can still smell it. Yeah.
That's how this stuff is.
The office driver brought it to the house, because I always order it from Minnesota Trapline, and that came in, and he's like, "Man, what is in there?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's it's Gusto, skunk, and all kinds of crap."
That's great. Okay, so at your bait site, man, are you using like a ground blind? Do you make like a makeshift ground blind, or are you using like a tree stand?
So if it's for my wife, it's a ground blind. She doesn't
say that again. If it's for your
wife? If it's for my wife,
it's
for Stacy, it's a ground blind. She won't do tree stands. And then for me, I like being in a tree stand. I like being able to see way out. And you know how it is here. I mean, you're on the ground and you can't see 20, 30 yards.
Yep.
I like to be a little higher up so I can kind of get ready. So when that bear comes in, I can make my move. whatever. I can tell from a distance that, yeah, that's the one I want to take, or no, I'm going to let this one. I don't know. I just like to be kind of prepared. So I like being 25, 30 feet up.
Yeah.
So it's just me.
Kind of on Team Stacy with this, man. I don't love being in tree stands, but I could see the advantage one would offer on like a bait site.
Yeah.
It actually makes a lot of sense to me.
Pardon the interruption, but let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Have you guys heard the term alternate economy? It's like this attempt to work with companies that are not run by a bunch of woke leftists that want to deplatform you for your values and your belief systems. I'd like to introduce you to Precision Pay. Precision Pay is a dedicated payment network built for the Second Amendment and outdoor recreation community, turning payments into a powerful network of shared values that prioritizes privacy, lower costs, and uninterrupted service, all without the risk of being deplatformed by these leftist nut jobs. Join Precision Pay to pay securely by bank without the privacy risks of credit cards. Save money and support our community. Enjoy promotions, discounts, and content. Membership is free. Folks, dedicated payment network built for the Second Amendment and outdoor recreation community is right up my alley. Help America, help yourself. Check out Precision Pay at myprecisionpay.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for those who support our sponsors. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I just like being off the ground. And then I think some of them cagey bears, honestly, like you get they know how to come into a bear bait. They don't just come straight in. They know how to hook with the thermals, and they come in. And that late evening, a lot of times, like my baits are a little higher up the drainage because, one, I like that thermal to carry that scent from that bait and broadcast it over that drainage. So I'm trying to hit, you know, trying to hit multiple bears versus just one that's happened to walk through. I like to get up high and get the thermals dropping at night when they're moving and get them kind of coming that direction. So usually I'm on a slope and I set up. So my tree stand would be, I'm usually left or right of my tree stand, depending on how the drainage is laid out, where my shooting lanes are going to be. But I usually try to be just off 20 yards or so to one side, not straight up above it. That makes sense. I like to be either left or right of the bait, on the same level, but up in a tree stand. So I've watched a lot of bears come in, a lot of older bears come in, and they'll come on the downhill side and they'll go past the bait a ways and then they'll hook up and come into it versus just coming straight in.
Mm-hmm.
So that being up a little higher, it just helps kind of disperse your scent out a little better. And that's kind of why I use that t-shirt too, because trying to get them used to my scent, and it doesn't always work, but it does. I mean, if you're the same person hunting it all the time, it can work to your advantage. But if you're not, you could just really mess things up. So you got to really think about it. Like if it's you and a buddy hunting together, you might want to think about how you play that out. But you kind of, I generally try to get them used to my scent if I'm hunting that bait. So I try to do stuff to kind of slowly introduce myself before I actually sit there. And a lot of times I'll hang it in my tree stand, or sometimes I'll hang it at the barrel. It just depends on my setup. So if I know those bears are going to hook below my tree stand and I really don't have an option, I'll put it in the tree stand so that when they come in, they're always picking that scent up from the same spot. But if it's somewhere where I know I can get away with it, I can get far enough away, but there's still a chance, then I'll put it on the barrel. So they're coming up, they're playing with it, whatever, but they're getting used to that scent. So
yeah, I like it, man. I did the t-shirt thing. I think bears are the one time where I really go over the top with like my own personal scent control. Like I hear a lot of whitetail guys are like, oh, I wash my clothes in this weird detergent, whatever. I don't ever do that. I do with bear hunting. I'll hang my camo or whatever I'm wearing in the sun. I don't run it through the washer and dryer at all, because even when you're using that special detergent, there's still like residual other kinds of detergent or whatever. The sun is a great the ultraviolet rays are a great scent killer. And so I hang outside in the sun the clothes. I like the whole season. I stopped using regular deodorant and I use like this scentless, odorless, whatever deodorant.
Yeah.
I don't ever wear aftershave or stink pretty or anything like that anyway. So, I just, you just want to be pretty mindful of that. And it's like you were saying, a really good idea. That time of year, usually during spring bear, is when your lawn's growing a lot at home. Get
Yeah.
out there and wear a t-shirt that you don't care about and mow the lawn, get it nice and sweaty, and take it up there and hang up 20 yards, 30 yards or something from your bait barrel. And that does seem to chase them off for a couple days, and then they come back and they start
Yeah.
getting used to that scent and just keep switching that shirt out. I think that's really good sound advice, my friend.
Like something too on that note, like all year round, I only use that unscented deodorant now. I don't use any deodorant that smells good or whatever. I use that Arm
Yeah, I
and
don't
Hammer.
either.
I think it's Arm and Hammer unscented deodorant. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just, I think for a lot of people, a lot of us that get out there and do this and try to get better and better at it, I think it's almost like a feel good thing. You're like, okay, yeah, I know I'm not going to smell this day or whatever, but I do it. I do a lot of like scentless body wash and stuff just because I think all year long I'm like, prepping for hunt season. It's like
Exactly. We live in 2 seasons, man. Hunting season and
Yeah.
getting ready for hunting season.
Yeah, exactly. And just
Yeah, my wife got me some weird natural scentless, odorless deodorant, and it actually works better than your typical store-bought stuff. You got to spend a little more money for it, but it's healthier too, because some of that store-bought stuff has some pretty wicked chemicals in it,
Dude,
and
so I didn't know that. Well, back when I was a teenager, I used to use that Axe. Did you ever use Axe?
No, I never
body
used it, but I know of
spray?
it.
They had the
Uh-huh.
Axe body spray and deodorant and stuff, and I used to use that. Well, it started to tear my armpits up, and I used to get like chafing really bad on them, and I was like, "What the heck?" I'm like, "It's made for this." I never knew, but I guess you're a lot of them have some bad shit in them.
Most of these
Can we
products.
cuss on this anymore? I didn't ask, so I apologize.
I don't care. I
Okay.
don't care. I've been trying not to cuss as much as I used. I used to drop a lot of F-bombs on the show.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
I don't
shut it,
care if
dang
you
it.
do, man. I don't
No,
care.
I
I mark
didn't mean
I mark
to
them
just-
all. I mark them all explicit anyway, because you never know, So whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But yeah,
Well, I
no, a lot
apologize
of
if
that.
I didn't. I should have asked
No,
you
no,
before we started.
I've cussed on this episode already, man. We're cool. A lot of these products, man, whether it's shampoo, soap, Axe body spray, whatever. My theory with like the body spray stuff or the cologne or whatever, I feel like you have to be a certain level of sexy to try to make yourself sexier, and I've
Yeah.
just never been there, and so I just didn't bother. And so, but a lot of it, if you read the ingredient lists on them, man, they're terrible for you, and that's getting into your bloodstream. And I feel like a lot of the cancers we experience in modern society is because of all that, the chemicals in the foods, the deodorant, the sunscreen. Like, quit using sunscreen
Dude,
and tanning
they've
oils
got
and
to
all
have
that
a
stuff.
spot to get rid of this crap. Like,
Yeah.
and they just pick these things and they're like, hey, we have this X amount of this byproduct and this. Hey, let's hide it in deodorant or let's put it in shampoo.
Gosh, I don't
or
know what they're
whatever.
doing,
It's
but
like,
yeah,
guys get freaking ED and all kinds of stuff from this crap, I guess.
I know. It's just crazy. It's crazy. to me.
Cancer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cancer, everything, man. It just all this stuff builds up in your body. And so if you could just limit that in any way you have power to limit it, because there's sometimes, there's no way to limit it. And we're doing
Right.
everything else. Like, I don't know. I put my cell phone in the same pocket when I'm walking around inspecting roofs or whatever. Yeah. It's like, all that is just, it's scary stuff at the end of the day. It's not natural. And I'm trying to just get rid of all the chemicals and ingredients. And like, did you know what was the product? But it was like, as a kid, let's say I could be getting the Fruit Loops. I'll use Fruit Loops as an example. That's cereal.
Yeah.
If you compared the ingredient list today to like 1980 of the same thing, you're going to see a lot more chemicals and additives and ingredients. So my wife and I's kind of philosophy nowadays is everything we buy is we're looking at that ingredient list, and it's not so much what's in it. It's more or less like, how long is the ingredient list? Like, why would a store-bought tortilla, have 40 different ingredients in it? It's like flour, salt, and whatever. It shouldn't have all that. And that's
No.
why I think like spaghetti noodles is another one. If you look at ingredients I'm getting off on a tangent here, man. We'll get back to
No,
hunting in
you're
just a
good.
minute.
This is interesting because
It's
I've
interesting
got some
stuff.
stuff to add to this.
And I want to hear it, because like if you look at spaghetti noodles that you could buy from your neighborhood grocery store in the 1970s and 80s, there was 3 things on the ingredients list, and now there's like over 20. It's ridiculous.
It's
like you shouldn't buy that stuff. You shouldn't eat that stuff at all. I mean, it's dangerous. I mean,
so my wife and I, because we've got a brand new baby. You guys know, you guys have met Remy, but
oh yeah.
So we kind of went down this rabbit hole of formulas. And we did so there's third-party testing out there. I'm sure you know about this, but like, say you have Fruit Loops, right? And it lists all the ingredients in it. Well, there's third-party testing done on that outside, and these guys actually give you everything that's in it. So like the metals and stuff.
Interesting.
You would not believe how much of the food and the baby products for children have lead in it.
Oh man, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me one bit.
It is.
No,
it's unreal, man. And it took us
Totally.
forever. We narrowed it down to 2 formulas, and we're with one now, and it's not cheap. But my wife, Stacy, she couldn't produce milk. She wanted to breastfeed so bad. She tried.
Yeah.
And she just
Some
never
women struggle
worked out.
with that, man.
That's something else. It's like, when has that ever been a thing? Right?
Exactly.
Like,
and
dude,
that could
go
be
down
like
rabbit hole after rabbit hole.
Oh, totally, man. Like my wife and I were big advocates. We breastfed. Well, I say we. I sure as hell didn't
You
breastfeed my
lactated,
kid.
Jim?
I didn't lactate, not one bit. But it was a big deal, and that was one of the like we're old school, man. We sacrificed greatly so that she could stay home with the kids, and a big part of that was because she was breastfeeding. And that was the healthiest way. And our kids just didn't get all these chronic weird illnesses that you hear that are so common out there anymore. And our kids aren't on medications. We're not on. I've got a couple of heart pills I take, but I don't even do all that. They wanted me to take like 8 or 9 different pills after I had that heart attack last year. Yeah. And I got researching about them, dude. No, I'm not taking all that crap. And like they had nothing to do with, thinning blood or arterial blockages or cholesterol, anything, nothing. And my heart attack wasn't even because of that. And so anyway, they're trying to shove all this medication and all these ingredients and all these poisons and all these chemicals and all these weird electronic freaking frequencies down our throats. And we're getting sicker and sicker and sicker. We're not living as long as you go to some of these super remote societies that still exist in places like South America and whatnot. You have like these 90-year-old men still out there doing hard labor. They don't know what heart attacks are. They don't know what cancer is because they don't get it.
They live off the land.
They live off the land. And so that's our philosophy nowadays, man. We don't buy store-bought meat. I kill everything. Well, or my daughters do. My Shiloh killed that buffalo, that bison.
Yeah, that was so cool.
It was cool, man. That was super cool. Oh, I should throw that out there. If anybody listening is interested in a bison hunt this coming year, my outfitter, we're doing them. We're doing them at the same place my daughter just killed this bison, and I don't remember the exact amount of meat I got off of this sucker, but it was like way more than an elk, and it is really good. Didn't we send you?
Oh yeah, you gave us some. Yeah, you gave us some, and it's delicious. I love it. So good, lean, good, clean meat.
I got more for
you
if you need it.
Heck yeah, I'll take you up on it. I'm gonna have to
man.
come down. I'm gonna have to get in touch and shoot one of them things. But
yeah, you're gonna have to, man. It's really healthy meat. They don't put a bunch of organics in it and crap. And I never thought, like, I always thought back in the day, everybody's like, oh, we're going organic, you know, and all these weird diet trends that were going on. I'm like, you bunch of granola eating hippies, leave me alone. I'm fine. But, you know, the older and wiser I get, you start going down this, you start getting into your 40s and you start feeling things in your body that you know you shouldn't be feeling yet. Like, I still consider myself a young man. I'm 40, but come on. And like when I was young, though, Steve, and again, we're still on this tangent temporarily.
Yeah.
When I was young, I remember dudes in their 40s were like old. They didn't want to, they couldn't go on these big wicked elk hunts and, you know, cover country in the back country and go up mountains, and like they're all smoking cigarettes and eating, you know, just shit food and putting, you know, crazy deodorant on and wearing all this stink pretty chemical sun tan line lotions. What is it? Sunscreen.
Yeah.
All this crap.
SPF 50 or whatever, right?
And they just constantly were doing this, and everybody just looked like they were 65 when they were my age, 45.
Yeah.
And I just found, man, you don't, like, I know there's this trendy saying that age is just a number and you're as old as you feel you are, or whatever. If you don't take care of your body, you will never prove that point. But if you take care of your body, and you don't have to be crazy about it. Like, I still drink beer. I had ice cream a few nights ago. You know, you can still, the thing is you don't do it every night. You don't, like, I don't ever go to fast food restaurants. You don't do that kind of stuff, because your body's going to get inflamed. You're going to get like, I have terrible arthritis from the Marines. And if I eat like crap, I can feel it when I eat healthy, like I have been for several months. I don't have the arthritis in my knees. I simply just don't have the arthritis in my knees. Yeah. You know, anyway, dude, I've
got one thing to add, and then I'll stop with this tangent, but we didn't do any injections with Remy.
Nice.
Like, no shots, nothing. He's been sick one time, and he's never had a runny nose. Like, you see how many people have babies, and like, if you notice, their babies' noses are always running. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but babies usually always have a runny nose. He's never had a runny nose once.
Well,
never had a runny nose. He eats like a champ. I feed him full elk steaks. He'll eat a whole elk steak. Obviously, I'll cut it up for him. I'll make him like elk backstrap and then a egg in the morning, and he'll eat that whole thing. And he's been super healthy. We've had him on this. Stacy and I try to keep him eating clean. We're against vaccinations, 100%. Don't agree with them. Sorry if you do, but we just do not. Yeah, and he's been like, he had one time where he got sick. I got pretty sick. He got sick. Stacy got sick. He had a fever of 103. It lasted 3 days. Not his fever, but just him.
Uh-oh, you cut out there, brother. I think we're losing some internet here. Can you hear me? Turn your video off for a minute if you can hear me, and it should catch it back up. Oops. No, looks like we lost him. Hold on. I'm getting him, folks. Sorry, I'm having issues with the internet. Are you there, Steve? Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get this thing.
I have no idea what the heck happened there.
We lost some internet there. I don't know if that was on my end or your end, but all of a sudden you started cutting out, and then you were gone. But I don't think it was bad enough. I don't need to cut any of that out. I like to keep everything in there. Whatever it is, what it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just was gonna say, yeah. I mean, we just don't vaccinate. We feed them healthy, and we totally disagree with it. 100%. We're not on board with it.
I mean, to your point, man, like I know that there's some vaccines that maybe are good or whatever, but if you look at the influx, the increase of children that have like learning disabilities, I'm drawing a blank on the word for that.
Autism.
Autism. autism rates have increased exactly parallel with the rate of vaccine schedules increased in children. And so there's got to that, like, you cannot look at that and think that there's not a coincidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that
No,
that just doesn't math to me if you don't understand how that lines up. It's perfect. It's perfectly aligned. It's crazy.
Well, and the thing is that this country, like, yeah, think about 100 years ago and think about where we're at now. Like, we're learning quicker than we can learn. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like, we've got all this new technology. We have all these things that are supposed to be bigger and better, but there's no testing done on anything. Like, look at AI. There's no testing on AI. Nobody knows what AI is going to do. And I mean, I'm not trying to be like a conspiracy theorist, but like, even people like Elon Musk go, yeah, I think there should be some regulation on some of this stuff. And there's not. It's just people just come up with this thing and then everybody's going with it. It's just, I don't know. I think things move a little quicker than they need to.
AI just kind of, it feels nasty to me in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if I get on like Instagram and I'm watching those reels, which that's in itself not healthy at all. So I've limited my time that I'll spend on social media. But if like, let's say I'm watching, maybe you posted a video of saucing an elk somewhere and you're filming your call in, because for those of you that don't know that are listening, Steve is one of the best callers I've ever hunted with. And so I watched that video, and then the next video is maybe like this. If you open up, look, I'll even show you. Like, I am not afraid. And men, you should never be afraid to just show your little shit on Instagram, because I'm not embarrassed with what I've got. But if you look at that, I've got videos of hunting and dogs and, just stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I try to watch pure things that are, I'm a Christian, so I'm big on that kind of stuff. But the point is when I'm scrolling through those, and then all of a sudden you can always tell when it's an AI video, and it feels like half demonic or something, dude. Like what in the hell? The sound is weird, and it's like the video's not adding up because it's AI. It's not perfected yet. Whatever. There's something that feels like demonic or evil or something about
it's off.
Some of these AI. Yeah, it's off, man. It's like so not natural. You know what I mean? Does that sound weird, or is that?
No, I know.
I've always noticed.
I've seen some videos of like bears chasing guys down and like ripping a tent open, and it's like the bear gets in there, and then you can see like it grows like a third arm real quick, and then it disappears, and you're like, what the heck? Like, there's just
like something's off, man. Come on, off. That shit is. Don't give me this. I don't trust it. And so, and interestingly, I have to use some of it in my business. Because some of it's handy.
I mean, God, I'd be lying if I said I didn't use it for some things. Like, you just do. I think it's just part of being in a culture that's just constantly changing. It's like you're just going with the changes, but a lot of times we don't really understand what those changes are.
I think we have a mutual friend. I had him on the show, Dakota Johnson.
Yeah, Dakota.
You know Dakota. Him and I were talking about technology and like the influx use of like things. Like, where does it cut off from? You're still fair chase versus where would you say, like, do you have an opinion on where the cutoff is?
Where you draw the line?
Where do you draw the line, and who? And the other part, answer that question first. But the other half of that, before I forget, is who gets to decide where that line is?
So, man, I grew up in I had a big family, and we were taught the 10 Commandments, and oh man, I've always kind of just kept a lot of that stuff to myself. I guess I don't know how to explain that, Jim. I know that there's stuff out there that I don't agree with, obviously, but then there's stuff out there that, like, take fishing, for instance. I really love to fish. I love fishing almost. If I had to choose between hunting and fishing, I don't know. I would probably
Really?
stay to fishing. Yeah, I just love fishing, man. I've always loved fishing. They're both like very close, but there's a lot of controversy about using live scope for fishing now. I don't know if you've heard of that. But
Yeah, I've heard of 'em.
basically, it's a fish finder that you can pretty much point any direction that you want. You can see the fish out 200 feet, 300 feet, 150 feet, wherever. You can basically land your lure exactly on the spot. It'll tell you how far out the fish is, how deep the fish is, and you just got to make a cast in that direction, and the lure drops down, and you got a better chance of catching that fish. I don't think it makes you a better fisherman because you have it. Am I jealous of the guys that have it? Absolutely. And you're like, oh, that guy only caught the fish because he was using live scope. Well, yes and no. I think if you can afford to have it, like, all the power to you. And then if you can't afford to have it, I think that's where that bitter side comes out. And you're like, gosh dang, that guy's a cheater, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I think social media and that aspect, like, you don't set yourself up financially to get that product, or maybe you just can't. But that kind of pushes you to the way of blaming, like, oh, something else on, instead of like taking that guy's merit for it or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if I'm the one to say where that line needs to be drawn. I stick to my morals and what I like to do and what I can afford to do it with. And if somebody has a picture of a 200-inch bull on their camera up on the mountain and they go up there and kill it, cool, great job. If they show me the picture and say where it's at, I'm not going to go hunt there. I don't care. I'm doing my own work. It's my own journey. And that's just my mindset. I'm going to go hunt for something on my own. I don't want somebody to show me where to go get it. I want to learn. I want to keep learning, and that's what keeps me in that rhythm. I don't try to get too involved with, oh, this guy's just doing this and this guy's just doing that. It's just like, if that's his own journey, he's doing his own journey, I'm going to stay in my lane. I think there needs to be some more of that. But also on the flip side, when does it get out of hand? And then who's the guy that says enough is enough?
Man, that's the hard part. That's the hard part. And what you were saying, to your point, like, I'm the same way you are from a standpoint. Like, I think one of the things that draws me to hunting more than any other aspect of it, other than I do feel like for especially men, it's in our DNA. We have this primal connection to hunting, the adventure, the danger, the challenge, all that kind of stuff. All that aside, the thing that really keeps me involved with hunting, and why I do a podcast about it, and why I talk about it, and why I do stuff with Eastman's with it, and I guide and all this stuff, I have a lot of experience as a hunter, but yet I just never seem to feel like I've learned enough, and I love to learn more. I love going, and I don't care if I'm out hunting with guys that have less experience than me or more experience than me. I can always learn. And one of the things that you said that troubles me when it comes to like the technology aspect of it is, that's what I was going to refer to when I was talking to Dakota Johnson. Is he was
By the way,
telling me,
Dakota is an absolute stud. Love the guy.
Yeah, he was a great guy, man.
He is a freaking awesome dude. Yeah.
And one of the things he was talking about is, I was unaware that there's these like high dollar thermals out there,
right,
that people can like just, I obviously I knew thermals existed. I've used them. I used them in the Marines. That's how we found these. Well, I told all the story on that particular podcast, but the thermals were a great tool back then. So I imagine here it is 25 years later, they're probably a lot better and further along technology wise. And I didn't know. And so after that, I recorded that with Dakota. I actually got online and I was looking at them. Man, these things are like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for these little handheld thermals that have some massive range on them. And I was watching these videos of people using them, and here's where I'm at with like drawing the line is that obviously would give somebody a huge advantage having a tool like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm in a point in my life, and I don't mean this in any like sort of egotistical way or any sort of like bombastic way. I'm
Right.
at a point in my life though where if I want to buy a $3,000 pair of thermals, I can go buy that $3,000 pair of thermals, right?
Yeah.
My issue with it is I think fair chase ends when some 45-year-old dude can have some major advantage over a 20-year-old dude on the same mountain because he's got more money. Does that make sense? That's where I don't want it to be a thing. Like the great thing about the American system and our North American model of wildlife conservation is it's kind of like this equalizer, and it should be equal for everybody. This isn't Europe where you have to be born into a certain family to have access to land to even be able to hunt. We all, whether we are we're the lowest man on the totem pole at the I don't know, garbage company, or an apprentice plumber, should have the same opportunity from a standpoint of what's going to get the job done. Meaning, like, he might not be able to buy the expensive camo like the 40-year-old lawyer down the street, but there's nothing that the 40-year-old camo or I'm sorry, the high dollar camo isn't going to give that young guy or the 40-year-old camo. Jeez, man, I'm getting all kind of.
No, you're good.
Let me start.
Good. Am I getting you flustered?
That high dollar camo isn't going to give that lawyer some great advantage over the 20-year-old just starting out who can only afford, some low dollar camo, other than he might stay a little bit more comfortable out there. Right. And that's where I think I draw the line is money should not be some kind of factor for being out on public land with an over-the-counter tag. I'm not talking about special, high fence hunts or people that can afford an outfitter and a guide and all that kind of stuff. That's a separate thing. If I think that's where we lose hunting. If we get to the point where it's the money that's going to make somebody successful on a like for like tag, right? And so, man, that took me a while to get there, dude.
I was using that expression in a way, Jim, just because, like, I'm just talking from my stance. I can't afford live scope, right? And I was just using that. Like, it's new technology. It's out there. Yeah, it shows you where it's just like thermals on the mountain, right? You can look across the canyon. You can see everything out there. But it's the same thing. I can't afford it. I'm jealous of it. But I'm not knocking the guys that have it because I just don't understand it well enough yet. If that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it.
That makes sense.
I don't know. But the thermal, there's so much back and forth. Here's the thing. Like, I see it as a tool for wolf hunting, right? Like, do we want to ban thermals?
And Dakota and I talked about that exact thing.
I listened to your episode about it. I thought it was a great episode. I enjoyed listening to it. And I was like, I've seen a lot of Dakota's posts and it gets me thinking about things. It really does. But I don't know, like, if banning it is the answer.
Let me ask you this.
Because, well, you know how, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead. I cut you. I didn't know.
No. So like you know how Idaho kind of groups things in, right? And it's like the lighted Knox thing. Like, how long did it take for us to get lighted Knox because you couldn't have electronics on your bow?
Yeah, that was dumb. So
then you group it in and it's like no electronics at all. So that means no lighted Knox, no light on your sight, no whatever. I worry that if we group thermals in, I'm not saying that guys should be out there using them for deer and elk or for moose or whatever the heck they're hunting. But on a predator aspect in a state where we have a really tough time managing wolves to begin with, besides trapping. Like the trappers do an amazing job, but for me or you that don't have time to go up and run a trap line for wolves, if we can invest in a set of thermals to go up there and hunt wolves on public land or whatever, like if that, like, do we want to get rid of that tool? I mean,
let me ask you this from that, because I agree with what you're saying. No, I think that thermal imaging and baiting and stuff like that for wolves is a critical tool, because it's not like hunting a deer, and anybody
Right.
that thinks otherwise hasn't hunted a wolf. It's just not. It's not the same. It's
they're
a
just so
huge
smart.
challenge. Yeah, they're very smart. They're very cunning. They just seem to know what you're going to do next, and so, but to your point, that thing that you were talking about, I don't know what you called it.
The Garmin Live Scope. The Live Scope.
Okay, so this live scope thing. Let me ask you this: there's a fish 150 yards away.
Yep.
Somebody's got this Garmin Live Scope, and they're counting the pimples on this fish's nose, and they're casting to it, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that a subpar skill level fisherman would have an advantage with that technology over somebody like you, who I just happen to know because we've fished a bunch together? You are a world-class fisherman, and I know you'll never say that, but you are an above average fisherman. Do you think that technology would give that guy an advantage over you, or who do you think is going to catch more fish?
Oh, that's a tough question. It depends.
Let me add something to that real quick, Steve, because the reason why I'm asking that, so that I want to make sure. I have a tendency to make a point without actually making the right point, because I miss a bunch of stuff.
Okay. No, you're good.
In perspective, you and I, let's say we're fly fishing the Coeur d'Alene River, right? Nice clear water.
Yeah.
I can see 10 feet down into those pools. I know those fish are right there. I can see them. I can see them hitting the top. So I'm like, man, look at this. I'm going to put one of them little elk hair caddis flies right there, and bam, I just nailed that fish because I knew that fish was there. Is that different than that? I'm not advocating for this Garmin scope thing you were talking about. It's literally for the sake of conversation about it. Is that different than using that Garmin fish scope?
And no, it's not. It's not different
Than fly fishing by sight.
Fly fishing by sight and using that Garmin Live Scope is practically the same thing. You know where the fish is at and you're casting to it. But here's the thing, is knowing what that fish is and knowing what that fish eats and knowing that fish's habits. It doesn't tell you that.
Yeah.
Right. So you still have to know, okay, this fish is hanging here and he's in a feeding mode or he's not in a feeding mode. You can tell just by the weather conditions or watching him swim around or what he's doing. Just that, like, when you go to the river, right, and you look at fish feeding on the surface, right, they're eating on elk hair caddis. You see the fly physically drop, you watch the fish come up, take it, and then as a fly fisherman, hey, I need a size 14 elk hair caddis or 18 or whatever. That from your years and your knowledge of fishing. But just because you see that fish, how many guys see that fish on the bank that have never fly fished or have nothing, like, they just know the fish is rising? Are they really looking at what that fish is eating? Like, they could cast at that fish all day. Does that mean they're going to catch it? No.
And that's been one of the stories of my life, man. I could see the fish eating right off the top of the river, and I'm putting a reasonable representation of that exact food source right in front of them, and they're eating everything around it, but they won't take my fly. Dadgummit.
And it could be the difference between a size 18 and a size 16. It could be leader diameter. It could be water clarity. There's so many factors that go into it, but you don't know that stuff unless you spend the time out there doing it, right?
Yep.
So there's no guarantees in anything. You have to spend the time. You have to know the animals. You have to know what you're pursuing, and it takes years to learn that stuff. And
now, all that said, sorry, were you going to finish?
No, go ahead. No, you're good.
I mean, all that said, at the end of the day, that is not making a case for, using thermal imaging for, deer hunting. I think that's
No,
BS. I
no,
like, come on,
no.
that's
I don't.
not hunting.
I
And-
agree with you. I guess my stance on it is I'd like some regulation on it. But do I want it eradicated? No.
I thought, let me look this up, because we had this conversation on that episode with Dakota. So thermal imaging, I'm just typing it in here, folks. Bear with me. I'm a chicken pecker typer. Idaho hunting thermal imaging. Go away. No person may take big game animals from August with thermal imaging technology, including scouting, hunting, or retrieval. So Idaho does have a stance on that. Thermal optic. Well, this article says February 18th, 2026. Idaho could be on the cusp of banning drones, thermal optics, night vision, and other high-tech gadgets that are creeping into the hunting. Okay, so here's an overview. For 2026, Idaho is implementing strict bans on using thermal imaging, night vision, and drones for hunting, scouting, or retrieving big game from August 30th to December 31st. Based on hunting, Idaho Fish and Game proposals, these rules aimed at maintaining fair chase ethics. So, okay, then Dakota was right. So there was not a law in place, but it looks like there is now for 2026, going into 2026. So it looks like in the state of Idaho, because I already know Montana, you get in big trouble in Montana if you use that thermal imaging or a drone. But no person, so from August 30th through December 31st, you cannot use thermal imaging for any kind of big game, including scouting. And that probably is going to encapsulate wolf hunting during that time. And like at first I was like, ugh. And I don't know this. I'm not clicking on these links to go. I think it bores the audience when I start reading too much. But I'll kind of deep dive into it. But I'm okay with that if it's including wolves during that time, because then you still have the other, 8 months of the year where you can use it for wolves.
Yeah.
Because Idaho's been really good about opening up those seasons.
I mean, I could stand behind that for sure.
And it's probably
honestly, dude, my biggest worry is predator management. That's been our biggest downfall since the get-go, is predator management in Idaho. And now it's like, thank God for like F4WM and the other stuff like that.
Yeah.
Guys that are actually out there, they're putting some incentive on it. It's starting to come back.
Yeah.
I'm worried about this year.
I think it is. I was explaining to somebody today on the phone. I was like, they're like, how's the elk numbers? And honestly, man, because they're all in their winter range right now. So, they're all around me where I live. And I could see them. I'm seeing the bull to cow ratios. I'm seeing the deer. I feel like 2016, if this was all on a graph, like 10 years ago, would have been this huge drop in elk numbers for both Montana and North Idaho over there. And we're seeing this thing kind of creep back up. I'm seeing a lot more elk. I'm seeing them in places that I hadn't seen them before. I'm hearing them more. The winter range, like one of the herds I saw today, there were 14 cows, a couple of like yearlings, and 4 bulls in there. That's pretty good. That's not terrible.
That's very good.
What I mean? That's very good. Like, I'm okay with that.
Considering
and that's
Idaho,
pretty
right?
consistent.
Like, a big herd up here is like 4 or 5 cows and a nice 280 bull, and you might have a branch antler bull with it or a spike. But like, that's a nice herd here. And I think everybody here, a lot of guys get this vision in their head where they're like, oh, there's a big herd, 30 cows, 5 bulls, and like, oh, just not seeing that anymore. And it's like, it's never been there. That's never been, ever since I was a kid. It's never been that way. A big herd here was like, I mean, you might have saw 12 cows, maybe
It's
12
it's
cows.
interesting. The more open country you get into where the elk are living, that's where the herd sizes become bigger. And I
Yeah.
think that's because, that lack of cover, they feel like they need to congregate a little bit more. I'm not a
Well, they can
biologist.
find each other easier. I think they
Yeah,
have just as
they can
hard a
find
time
each other.
finding each other here
Yeah.
than, than
Yeah,
we
I think
do.
you're right, man. It's just they have that strength in numbers mindset. And so in that big open country, they just, like when I was a kid in Utah, man, we'd see these elk herds of 80, 90, 100 head out
Yeah.
on the side of a mountain. The whole mountain would be moving. And it was just all elk, you don't see that up here.
No,
in this
I
neck of the
think
woods. There's parts of Montana you would, but
I
my
think a
part of
lot of
Montana,
people
no.
get our bull size misconstrued or whatever, however you say that, but they get size of elk here. A lot of people get that wrong. And
Oh,
then
man,
size
yeah.
of herds, very wrong.
People that don't see a lot of elk firsthand, they do have a tendency to exaggerate that score.
Everybody sees
they'll-
a 360-inch bull.
Oh
every
yeah,
year, and
Oh, I
you're like,
swear it was a
bull.
360. Now,
Yeah, no,
like if you see a 320, that's a big bull, man. That's a
that's
big
a
old
great
sucker.
bull. You better
I'd be tickled
trying to get
with
that bull.
But yeah, I know that. Well, cool,
I'm
man.
not saying they're not around, but I mean, yeah.
Oh, they're in there.
They're
I think
here.
we live in one of the unique areas of the country where we actually have elk that die of old age here.
Yeah.
Because they're just, it's so thick, so brushy, so remote. I know there was an instance, I don't remember if that was last year or the year before, here on the Montana side, where I saw this big old bull during archery season, and he saw me. He was out of range a little bit.
Yeah.
But he looked at me like he'd never seen a human before. Like he was like, "What are you, man?" Like he wasn't scared. He wouldn't come any closer. He's like, it's almost like he figured out too. I was the one that bugled, like I educated him or something.
Yeah.
But he's looking at me like a bull. If I would have been closer to maybe a dirt road, wouldn't have given me that look that time of year. That he would have bolted immediately. But this bull, I swear, and I just don't. I think there's a lot of places in the country where you don't run into bulls that haven't seen humans before.
Right.
And so it's just an interesting thing I noticed. So
no, we have roads everywhere, lots of logging roads, and it's a lot of easy access. And I don't know, man, but I kind of do. Like my whole hunting approach for elk now is getting out there at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like I am a 9 o'clock in the morning hunter now. I let everybody get
you don't
to
do
their
first
spot.
light?
No, not anymore. I let everybody get to their hunting
I kind of do that too, man.
Dude, I let everybody go to their hunting spots and get in the woods, and then I just go find out. And it's worked out the last couple of years now. Just I don't know.
That's kind of always been my thing, man. The best
you
call
got me really into that midday madness. Like that
man,
hunt
that
you and I went
midday
on, and you're
man.
like, hey, dude, let's just sit right here and let's have a sandwich and empty our packs out and just stretch legs. I think you had your boots off, like.
Oh yeah, man. No, I don't stress. Now that would change if I was hunting in Arizona or something. Yeah. Where they're just you gotta consider the area, the region. But the only time I go out at first light for elk anymore, and some guys are gonna hear this, they're gonna be like, "What in the world? This guy doesn't know what he's talking about." You know what I mean? But here's the thing, man. Like my best call-ins happen after 9 o'clock, and everybody's out there stirring up the elk at that time at first light. And the only time I go out at first light is when I'm guiding. And that's because I kind of feel obligated, because it's hard to convince somebody who's had it in their mind their whole life that you got to be out there at first light. You got to, and there are times where it does make sense. Like if I want to get to a certain spot by 9, 10 o'clock where I know the elk are, I got to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning just to get there. Right. And so there's that. Definitely. But I'll have hunting clients that are like, limited in their physical ability. And they're like, oh, we got to be out there at first light. All right, we'll get out there at first light, buddy. And we'll go. I'll do it. but I know not
yeah.
much is going to happen until after 9 o'clock. I think that's really unique to our area. But I'm telling you, my best call-ins are around noon and that last light. Those are my most productive times by far, hands down, for elk. So anyway, that's my
I killed my
2 cents.
bull this year at 11:30.
Yep, there you go, man. Well, Broken
11:30.
Times behind
And
me.
he was on his feet and running around and happy as a clam. Had no idea I was even there. But
If you guys, if you guys listening or watching this on the old YouTube, see old Broken Times behind me, right above my hat there. That was around noon when I called him in.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's super frequent thing for me. My best, not only, like, the thing is it's not like you can't get bugles at first light, because you can get them talking at first light. Totally. Yeah. The thing is you have a better chance of pissing them off and making them curious after they've gotten to their first bedding area and get a little bit antsy. So we might have to do this again, man. We're coming up on 2 hours, and
holy cow, has it been 2 hours?
Yeah, it's been a long time. We better wrap this one up, man. We might need to
yeah, shoot. We didn't even
well, let's do it again.
Touch on anything. When do you want to go?
Let's do a School of September next time.
You're inviting me to do a dude. I'd be
yeah,
honored.
Man.
Let's go.
No, I told you when I was recording. I've said your name on the show, like, in every episode. It feels like this winter, because you are one of the most effective callers I've ever hunted elk with, and you just go after them, man. Like, you just have this weird sense of, oh, this elk's gonna like this. I remember we were hunting that one time, and we had that bull that surprised both of us, because we'd kind of given up for the day, right?
Yeah.
We're like, let's head back to the truck, and we're making all this ruckus talking about how great of a whitetail spot this would be. We're standing in, just talking normal voices like we are here.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that elk starts cranking up on the other side of the drainage, and you drop back and grab this big log and start just whacking it against this tree. And I'm like, what in the world is Steve doing? He's going to scare this thing away. And next thing I know, that bull's closer, screaming at us. And then you're doing this. You're where I learned that those weird growly moaning things.
Yeah, the
man. I was like, what in the world is Steve doing it again? What is that? And nope, lo and behold, that bull's even closer, and he's even more mad. It's just, you're a great caller, man. I'd love to get you out for school.
The whole idea behind that growl and moan, like, so when you go to the gym, or if you're working out at your house, or you're beating something up, like, you're breathing heavy, like, it makes you sweat, and you're grunting, and you're like, and that's why I do that. I'm like getting into it. You got to rake that brush, and you got to make it sound like
so realistic
and heavy, and like, he's excited.
It's realistic too, man. Like, I don't know if it was the same year or the year after. I had a bull kind of fired up going, and he was like super irritated at me, and that's kind of my goal. I'm good at making him mad. And I got this bull really mad, but he's over there raking this tree, doing those noises just like you were doing. And I mean, that's what they do. He just, anyway, I don't want to give away too much. Let's do a School of September about it. Because I think
let's do it.
People could really, if they're into calling, they can really learn a lot from you. So anyway.
Well, man, thanks a lot, Jim. That's awesome. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Well, this was a good discussion, man. We talked about deodorant,
vaccines, and what the world's gone crazy.
Breastfeeding. You accused me of lactating. I mean, this has been a great episode. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Stick on the line for just a minute, but tell everybody where they could find you. Give us all your social channels.
I got
and all that.
Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is Steven Johnson, and Instagram is Stevie
with 2 E's _35.
There you go. Yeah. And then I had a podcast going for a while. I would like to get back into it. I really just like talking to people, like stuff like this, right? Where we just sit down and it's just like, we can just start bullshit. We didn't really have an itinerary. It's just like unscripted, just talk. I love that. And I like just talking to true blue guys like yourself and doing stuff like this. So
Well,
I had that. I don't know. I'd like to get it going again. Like I said, we just moved and the year's been kind of crazy. So, but that podcast is THF Podcast. You want to check it out? It's on Spotify or whatever. So
THF stands for Trapping, Hunting, and Fishing Outdoors Podcast.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now that's what I love about having you on. I'm like, hey man, I'm in a bind. I need a guest. And can you come on? And you're like, yeah, man. What should we talk about? And I'm like, I don't know, hunting. Okay,
we're just gonna talk.
Those ones turn out the best. Man. Yeah,
for
I love it.
Love it.
Well, thanks again, man.
Yeah.
Thanks again for coming on, and we'll just keep in touch and do this again. Obviously, always a pleasure. I always learn a lot from you, and just stay frosty, brother. I think that's
You
a
too,
saying,
brother.
right? All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
You made it! That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Western Huntsman and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you